The star charts of the galaxy were never wrong. For thousands of years, every world, every moon, every empire was marked carefully on glowing maps. But on this night, inside the Galactic Core Observatory, those maps began to change on their own. A bright red region, one of the largest in the galaxy, started shrinking. It was the territory of the Vorex Dominion. Technicians blinked in confusion. Systems were checked. Screens were wiped. Data was refreshed. Yet the same impossible thing happened again and again. The Vorex Dominion was disappearing. Admiral Saren of the Galactic Council stood over the main holotable, his voice firm but shaking inside. "Run the scan again," he ordered. "We already did," a young officer replied. 12 times. Their border systems are gone. No communication. No power signatures. No traffic routes. Admiral Saren stared at the map. Only hours ago, the Vorex controlled more than 700 worlds. They had one of the strongest fleets known to the galaxy. Massive warships with armor so thick that even neutron cannons struggled to break it. Their name alone made other empires obey. But now, silence. Total silence. Around the observatory, tension grew like a rising storm. Officers spoke in whispers, afraid their voices would break the strange quiet that filled the room. "Maybe it's a system glitch," someone said. A senior navigator shook his head slowly. "No glitch removes an entire empire." The room chilled. Everyone felt it, the dread of facing something they did not understand. A communications alert suddenly flashed across the main screen. "Unidentified object entering Council space," an officer reported. "What kind of object?" Admiral Saren asked. The officer swallowed. "A beacon. Vorex origin." Gasps spread across the room. A Vorex beacon drifting alone was never a good sign. Those beacons were only released when something terrible happened. Something so big that a whole empire could not handle it. "Put it on the main display," Saren ordered. The drifting beacon rotated slowly in the dark of space. Its metal surface was cracked, burnt, and scarred. It looked half-melted, as if it had passed through something far hotter than any known weapon. Then the beacon activated. A broken message began to play, filled with static, fear, and pain. A Vorex commander's voice came through, shaking, wounded, almost pleading. "Warning, to all species. Do not provoke the humans." The room froze. Not a single person moved. Not a single breath was heard. The Vorex Dominion had ruled their region for centuries. They crushed rebellions like insects. They enslaved weaker species. They had survived wars that wiped others from history. But they were sending a warning? And the warning was about humans? Admiral Saren's eyes narrowed. "Replay that." The message repeated, even more haunting the second time. "Do not provoke the humans. They do not stop. They do not forgive." The recording ended with a soft hiss, like a dying breath. The beacon went dark. Officers stared at one another with wide, terrified eyes. Everyone had heard of the humans, of course. A young species. Curious. Friendly. Always exploring. Always learning. They traded fairly, helped freely, and talked openly. They had only recently joined the wider galaxy. But never had they shown power like this. "Are the Vorex trying to trick us?" someone asked softly. "Vorex do not beg," Admiral Saren replied. "And they never send warnings." The council members exchanged looks of fear and doubt. The mystery deepened as new reports appeared on the screens, each more unbelievable than the last. Entire Vorex fleets missing. Planets empty. Cities abandoned but untouched. No survivors. No attackers. Just absence. Like something had passed through and swept them away without leaving a trace. What in the stars happened out there? Saren whispered. No one had an answer. Only fear. One officer zoomed in on the last known Vorex capital system. The map showed a swirling field of white particles. Fine dust drifting through space like snow. "Is that debris?" Saren asked. "No, sir," the officer replied. It is too fine. Almost like ash." A cold thought crept through every mind in the room. Something had reduced the mighty Vorex to dust. A silent alarm beeped again. Another signal appeared on the scans. Steady, calm, and unmistakable. An approaching fleet. Not Vorex. Human. Dozens of Terran ships moved through space in perfect formation. Lights dim, weapons quiet. No warning shots. No threats. Just silent, steady movement toward the newly empty region. Admiral Saren felt a chill run through his bones. "Contact them," he said. "We tried," an officer replied softly. "They are not answering. They are focused." On what? No one knew. The room fell quiet as the human fleet slipped deeper into Vorex space, their ships shining like cold steel ghosts. "What if they are the reason the Vorex vanished?" a voice whispered. No one dared respond. The stars outside the observatory window looked peaceful, calm, beautiful, but inside the hearts of every officer, fear had taken root. Because for the first time in galactic history, an old truth became clear. The galaxy had misjudged humanity, and whatever happened between humans and the Vorex was only the beginning. Months before the Vorex dominion vanished, the galaxy was still calm. Trade routes were busy, star stations full of travelers, and no one imagined a storm growing in the dark. The humans were expanding quietly, sending small science teams to study new planets near the Vorex border. They were peaceful explorers, curious, careful, and respectful. Their ships were not warships, only research vessels with thin armor and bright lights. To humans it was a normal mission. To the Vorex, it was an insult. The Vorex Dominion had ruled their region with fear for hundreds of years. They believed every world near them belonged to them alone. They hated when weaker species crossed their borders. And in their eyes, humans were weak. In the Vorex capital fortress, High Commander Draxer watched a hologram of a small human science ship drifting near a mineral-rich moon. Two humans were outside in suits, placing research beacons and collecting samples. Draxer laughed, a low, cruel sound. "These soft little creatures dare step into our territory," he said. "They do not understand strength." A junior officer nodded quickly. "Shall we warn them, Commander?" "Warn?" Draxer smirked. "No. Weak creatures learn only through pain." He raised his hand. "Send a hunter squad. Capture them. Show the galaxy what happens to trespassers." The order was given. Within hours, a black Vorex warship moved through the shadows like a predator. Its engines were silent, its weapons armed. The human science ship didn't even realize danger was coming. Inside the human vessel, Captain Mara Hall was checking survey readings when her radar flashed red. "Unknown ship approaching fast," her pilot reported. "No ID. No response to our greeting." Mara frowned. "Maybe they didn't hear us. Try again." They tried. Again and again. No reply. Then the Vorex warship fired. The blast shook the small ship like a toy. Lights flickered. Systems screamed warnings. The humans tried to escape, but the Vorex disabled their engines with precise shots, then boarded them like wolves entering a broken shelter. The Vorex soldiers stormed inside, towering and armored. The humans raised their hands, shouting that they were peaceful, unarmed, only researchers. The Vorex ignored their words. They dragged the humans away as trophies. Commander Draxer received the prisoners with pride. "Bring them to the interrogation halls," he said. "We will show them their place." To him, this was just another minor act of dominance. To humanity, it was unforgivable. When the humans did not return, the Terran exploration fleet sent a polite message to the Vorex Dominion. It was simple and calm. "We are missing a science ship. Please return our people." The Vorex laughed at the message. Commander Draxer played it repeatedly, mocking the gentle tone. "They ask as if they have power," he sneered. "Send them our answer." The Vorex response was short and cold. "Your people are ours now. Stay out." When the message reached Earth, every human leader in the Terran Union fell silent. Humans were peaceful. But when someone harmed their own, something inside them changed. In the Terran Fleet headquarters, Admiral Solara Reed stood before a council of commanders. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp with controlled fury. "They attacked explorers," she said. "Unarmed teams. Scientists. Civilians." No one spoke. They all knew what this meant. A commander asked quietly, "Are we sending a rescue team?" Solara shook her head. "No, not a team." She activated the holomap. "We are sending the fleet." When the Vorex heard humans were mobilizing, they laughed again. They remembered humans as small, polite, emotional creatures. Creatures who apologized too easily and avoided conflict. "They will bark a little," Draxer said confidently, "and then crawl away." But he did not know the truth about humans. He did not know the one rule every species who lived near humans understood well. Humans do not start fights, but they always finish them. And they never leave their people behind. The Terran unified fleet moved with frightening precision. Not wild, not chaotic, cold, focused, silent. Ships lined up in perfect formation, engines burning like white stars. As they approached Vorex territory, a final message was sent. It repeated once, twice, then a third time. "Return our people. End this peacefully." The Vorex replied with a single word. No. That was the moment the future of the Vorex Dominion ended. The Terran fleet crossed the border. On the Vorex side, alarms sounded across military stations. Commanders rushed to battle posts. Soldiers readied weapons. But deep inside, unease grew. The humans were not shouting, not threatening, not demanding revenge. They were simply advancing. Quietly, purposefully, as if nothing in the galaxy could stand in their way. Commander Draxer watched the incoming human fleet and felt something he had not felt in years. A small, sharp fear. "What drives them so strongly?" he murmured. A communication officer answered softly. "They want their people back." The Vorex laughed when they captured the humans. But they were not laughing now. Because the Terran fleet had arrived. And humanity's true nature was awakening. The Vorex Dominion had fought many enemies. They had broken rebellions, crushed pirate kingdoms, and burned entire star clusters to force obedience. They believed they understood war better than anyone else in the galaxy. But they had never fought humans. Not truly. Not the way humans fought when something precious was taken from them. The Terran unified fleet crossed deep into Vorex space without hesitation. Their ships moved like a single living force. Steady, controlled, perfect in formation. There was no panic, no shouting, no signs of fear. Only silence. A dangerous silence. Commander Draxer watched their advance from his war room, surrounded by his brightest officers. But none of them understood what they were seeing. "They are not slowing down," one officer said. "They are not responding to our threats," another added. Draxer leaned closer to the tactical display. The human ships glowed with a strange white shimmer around their hulls, something he could not identify. "What kind of shields are those?" he asked. "No known match," replied the sensor officer. "Energy readings, unusual. Very stable." Draxer frowned. He knew most technologies across the galaxy. But this was something new. "Send a message," he ordered. "Tell them they are entering forbidden space." The Vorex message echoed across the sector. "Turn around or be destroyed." No reply came back. The humans simply kept moving. Far from the battlefield, on a quiet moon called Helios 7, a group of scientists worked inside a massive underground facility. The doors were thick as city walls, and the halls were filled with machines older than the Terran Union itself. Project Helios. A human creation whispered about in rumors. A technology the galaxy had never seen. A secret guarded for generations. And now, because of the Vorex attack, it was waking up. Inside the central chamber, pale blue light pulsed through giant crystals. Engineers moved quickly, activating systems with steady hands. They all knew the same truth. Humanity never wanted war. But they prepared for it anyway. Not because they loved violence, but because they feared losing what they loved. Back at the Vorex border, the first human warships reached the defensive line of the Dominion. Hundreds of Vorex cruisers waited, armed and ready. Their cannons glowed red, aimed directly at the incoming humans. "Ready all guns!" Draxer shouted. "Prepare to fire!" Every Vorex ship locked weapons. Every human ship stopped. A single transmission came from the Terran flagship. Controlled. We make one last request. Return our people. The Vorex commander on duty laughed loudly. Fire! The Vorex cannons unleashed a storm of red plasma. The space between the fleets blazed with fire. The human ships vanished behind the explosion. But when the light faded, the humans were still there, untouched. Not even a scratch on their hulls. The Vorex officers stared in disbelief. Impossible, one whispered. No shield can block that much power. Commander Draxer slammed his fist on the table. Then fire again. They fired again. And again. And again. Nothing. The humans waited patiently, as if allowing the Vorex to finish. Then, as one, the Terran fleet moved forward. When the humans attacked, they did not shout. They did not celebrate. They did not show rage. They fought with cold precision. Human energy beams sliced through the first Vorex line like paper. Whole cruisers broke apart silently in the darkness. Vorex soldiers screamed orders, but their ships fell too fast to understand the enemy's strategy. What are these weapons? Officers cried. Why are their ships glowing? Why don't their shields fail? No one knew. All they saw was human light spreading across the battlefield like a calm storm they could not escape. Within minutes, the first Vorex defensive line was gone. Gone. Not drifting wreckage. Not burning ships. Just gone. As if something erased them. Fear spread through the Vorex fleet like poison. These were warriors who felt pride in battle, who believed they were the strongest. But now their hands shook on their control panels. Their voices cracked. Their confidence broke. For the first time in their history, the Vorex felt weak. Commander Draxer stared at the battlefield, breath fading. This is not normal, he whispered. This is something else. One of his officers spoke in a trembling voice. Commander, we misjudged them. Draxer turned slowly. What do you mean? They fight with no anger. They fight with purpose. They do not destroy us for glory. They destroy us because we touch their people. Draxer finally understood the terrible truth. Humans did not fight with emotion. They fought with loyalty. And loyalty made them unstoppable. As the Terran fleet advanced deeper into Vorex territory, another message echoed from the human flagship. Calm. Soft. Yet terrifying. We will keep moving until our people are returned. The Vorex tried to jam the message. They tried to hide it. They tried to ignore it. But the words reached every military officer, every worker, every citizen. And fear took root in every heart. Because if the humans would come this far for only a handful of captured scientists, what would they do next? The first battle was only the beginning. The Terran unified fleet moved deeper into Vorex space like a blade cutting through cloth. No resistance slowed them. No threat made them turn back. Their formation never broke, and their ships carried that same calm white glow, bright, steady, unnatural. The Vorex tried to regroup. They pulled fleets from outer sectors, called back warships from distant borders, and placed every remaining commander on high alert. The Dominion had never faced defeat like this, and they refused to believe they were losing. Inside the Vorex capital fortress, Commander Draxer stood before the War Council. 12 high-ranking generals stared at him with cold eyes, demanding answers he did not have. How did they break your defensive line? One general growled. How did your entire fleet fall in minutes? Asked another. Draxer's voice struggled to remain steady. They have technology we cannot understand. Their ships glow with some kind of energy shield. Our weapons do nothing. Laughter filled the room, short, sharp, disbelieving. A shield that ignores plasma cannons? Impossible. Maybe your troops panicked. Maybe you panicked. Draxer slammed his hands on the table. You fools! I watched it with my own eyes. Our ships vanished. Not destroyed, vanished. The generals fell silent. Not because they believed him, but because the word vanished tasted like fear. The Vorex sent their second armada next. 2,000 warships, each equipped with heavy cannons and reinforced armor. It was one of the greatest forces the Dominion had ever assembled. Draxer joined them, determined to redeem himself. The human ships appeared on the sensors shortly after. Only a fraction of the Vorex numbers. Barely 200 ships. A laughable force. But their formation was perfect. Their engines burned cold white. And they moved with no delay, no hesitation, no fear. Vorex captains shouted confidently through the comms. We outnumber them 10-1. They cannot escape. This time they will fall. The second armada opened fire. It didn't matter. The white glow around human ships absorbed the blasts like drops of rain. Not a single Terran vessel faltered. Then, with a slow and steady movement, the humans fired back. Light, soft, white, silent, spread across the battlefield like a wave. It didn't roar. It didn't explode. It simply washed over the Vorex armada. And the ships touched by the light disappeared. Draxer watched in horror as entire cruisers blinked out of existence. No fire. No debris. No screams. One moment they were there. The next moment, gone. Retreat! A Vorex captain shouted. But there was nowhere to run. The white wave moved again. And more ships vanished. At the center of the human fleet, the Terran flagship shone brighter than all others. The silence from their side was more frightening than any weapon. They did not celebrate. They did not taunt. They did not show emotion. They simply erased anything between themselves and their captured people. Draxer's ship attempted to escape, engines burning at full power. He watched his armada fall like dust in wind. Ships he trained with for decades. Ships that had survived brutal wars. Now reduced to nothingness. The second armada was gone. Every ship. Every crew. Every captain. Except his. His ship drifted, power fading. He stared at the human fleet in terror. "What are you?" he whispered. The humans did not answer. Across Vorex territory, panic spread faster than any invasion. Citizens woke to evacuation alarms. Military outposts received desperate orders. Commanders scrambled to reorganize. But the Terran fleet did not slow. They advanced with steady, frightening purpose. Wherever they passed, silence followed. Stations found empty. Outposts abandoned. Regions dark. And then the disappearances began. The Third Fleet vanished without sending a distress signal. The Fourth Fleet vanished while trying to ambush the humans. The Fifth Fleet vanished before they even reached the battlefield. Reports came from broken ships and terrified officers. A white light spreading. It swallowed our star base. We cannot fire. Our systems are gone. Help us, please. Then silence. For the first time in their long history, the Vorex Dominion faced total collapse. The Galactic Council watched all this from afar with growing fear. They received broken messages, frantic requests for help, but no one moved to assist the Vorex. No one dared interfere. Because the Council understood something the Vorex never did. Humans were kind. Humans were cooperative. Humans were peaceful. Until you harmed them. Until you touched their people. And then the humans became something else. Something unstoppable. Commander Draxer returned to the capital with only one message for the War Council. We have awakened something terrible. The humans are not fighting for conquest. They are fighting for their own. We cannot stop them. The generals finally believed him. Fear filled every pair of eyes in the chamber. The Dominion prepared its final defenses. But deep down, every Vorex knew the truth. Their fleets were vanishing. Their power was fading. Their empire was falling. And the humans had only just begun. Vorex space was once alive with war drums and glowing red banners. Their worlds were filled with strict order, giant fortresses, and iron discipline. But now everything felt different. Something heavy hung in the air. Something cold. Fear. Every city, every spaceport, every fortress knew the same truth. The humans were coming. And nothing had stopped them yet. Commander Draxer stood on the balcony of the Vorex Capital Tower, staring at the dark horizon. Smoke rose from distant districts. Not because humans bombed them. Humans had not touched a single civilian target, but because the Vorex themselves were panicking. Citizens fought to escape to outer colonies. Military officers argued in the streets. Loudspeakers repeated evacuation orders that no one followed. A young officer rushed to Draxer's side. Commander! The humans have reached Jather Prime. Draxer turned sharply. That is one of our strongest fortress worlds. They should hold the line. The officer's eyes dimmed. They tried, sir. But the humans passed through their defense grid as if it wasn't there. The whole stronghold is gone, silent. Gone. Another world swallowed by the quiet white wave. Draxer's hands tightened. He felt something he never felt in his entire life. Helplessness. Meanwhile, the Terran Unified Fleet moved forward with steady precision. Their objective was clear. Recover the captured humans. Nothing else mattered to them. But when they arrived at Vorex-controlled planets, something unexpected happened. Human ground forces landed with unmatched discipline. Their boots touched the soil softly, their armor glowing faintly under the white shield light. To the terrified Vorex civilians, they looked like beings of cold justice. Many Vorex expected them to burn cities, destroy civilians, crush populations. But the humans did none of that. On the first captured world, Terran soldiers marched straight to the prisons and work camps. Guards fired at them desperately, but every shot bounced off the humans' strange white energy barrier. A human commander stepped forward. "We are not here for vengeance," she said. "We are here for our people." Her voice was calm, steady, unnatural in the chaos. They broke the prison gates with a soft pulse of light. Inside, they found not only human prisoners, but thousands of alien slaves held by the Vorex. Dozens of species. Terrified. Hurt. Broken. When the freed aliens saw the humans, most trembled, expecting new masters. Expecting cruelty. But instead, human medics rushed to treat them. Human soldiers lifted the weak, gave water, provided blankets. No one expected this. A young Vorex servant cried out, Why do you help us?" A human medic replied gently, "Because you are hurt." The simplicity of the answer shook them all. Vorex officers watching from the shadows whispered among themselves. These humans destroy armies, but protect civilians? They erase fleets, yet heal strangers? What are they? When word spread across the Dominion that humans were freeing slaves and refusing to harm innocents, confusion grew. Many Vorex began questioning everything they had been taught. A Vorex mother stood beside the road, clutching her child as Terran soldiers marched past. She expected death. Instead, a human soldier paused, knelt down, and handed her a food pack. "For your little one," he said softly. The mother didn't understand. She stared at him with shock, tears forming. Humans fought like monsters, but acted like guardians. It made the Vorex fear them even more. But mercy did not mean weakness. Whenever Vorex soldiers attacked, the humans responded with terrifying precision. Entire fortresses collapsed in minutes. Bunkers melted. Armored divisions vanished into white light, leaving only silent dust drifting in the air. No human soldier cheered. No voice shouted in victory. They simply removed anything standing between them and their goal. On the 11th world they liberated, they found evidence of the captured human scientists. It was a camp carved deep into the mountains, guarded by elite Vorex soldiers. Draxer himself oversaw that prison. He believed it was safe. He believed it was hidden. He believed the humans would never reach it. He was wrong. The Terran fleet appeared above the mountain range like a silent storm. Draxer felt the ground tremble as the humans descended. He ordered his soldiers to fight. They fired everything they had: cannons, rockets, plasma rifles. The humans did not slow. Their white shields flickered softly, absorbing every blast like gentle waves. Draxer watched his strongest warriors fall within seconds. He heard human boots approaching the prison chambers. He heard gates being pulled apart. He heard voices, soft, relieved, crying, "Admiral Reed! They found us! We're going home!" The humans embraced their rescued people, lifting them carefully, checking their injuries, whispering comforting words. Draxer stood in the shadows, breath shaking. He had expected hatred, but he saw only fierce loyalty. Humans were not fighting for territory, not for conquest, not for dominance. They were fighting for their own, and that made them unstoppable. When the Terran commander finally stepped outside the prison, she looked directly at Draxer. Her armor glowed bright white. Her face was calm, almost sorrowful. You took what belonged to us, she said quietly. This war could have ended before it began. Draxer could not speak. You harmed our people, she continued. And for humans, that is the one thing no enemy survives. The mountain wind fell silent. Draxer finally understood. The Vorex Dominion was not losing because humans were strong. They were losing because humans were driven by something far stronger than fear or power. They were driven by loyalty. And the Dominion would pay the full price. The once mighty Vorex Dominion was falling apart. Fortress after fortress had collapsed. Fleet after fleet had been erased. Citizens now whispered the same terrifying words. The humans are coming to the capital. The sky over the Vorex homeworld, Vorex Prime, was filled with defensive platforms, huge cannons, and armored towers built to crush any invasion. For centuries, the Dominion believed no enemy could ever reach their capital. Now, for the first time, they felt unsure. Inside the throne chamber, Emperor Kaler stared at a giant map of his dying empire. Red sections faded with every passing hour. Entire star systems turned dark. His generals stood around him, silent, defeated. Where is the Fourth Fleet? Kaler demanded. Gone, Your Majesty, a general said quietly. Vanished. No signals. And the home guard around Jatha Prime? Defeated within minutes. Kaler's fists tightened. All this, for a handful of humans? No one answered. The Emperor slammed his hand on the table. We are Vorex, the strongest in the galaxy. How can this be happening? The room remained silent. Everyone knew the answer. But no one dared speak it. Humans fought with a purpose the Vorex had never understood. And they were getting closer. The arrival of the Terran fleet. Outside in space, the darkness around Vorex Prime changed. Small white sparks appeared. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. The humans had arrived. Terran ships filled the sky like a silent storm. No bright colors, no loud engines. Only the cold white glow that had erased so many Vorex fleets before. Citizens looked up, trembling. Some fell to their knees. Some hid their children. Some simply stared, unable to believe the humans were real. A final message came from the Terran flagship. We are here for our people. Stand down. But the Vorex Emperor refused surrender. He had a weapon hidden beneath the capital. A monstrous superweapon powered by the energy of 3 stars. Project Oblivion. A weapon said to break planets. A weapon meant to end wars. A weapon Kaler believed would finally force the humans to kneel. He activated it. A rumbling shook the planet as huge metal plates slid open, revealing a massive cannon pointed at the sky. Energy gathered around its core, glowing red like the heart of a dying star. Let them feel true Vorex power, Kaler declared. Fire! The cannon roared, sending a beam of burning red fire into the sky. It hit the Terran fleet, and the beam stopped. It touched the white glow, then died, as if swallowed by light. No explosion. No shaking. No damage. The humans didn't even move. Kaler stared in disbelief. Again, he screamed. Fire again. The cannon fired a second time. Nothing. A third time. Nothing. Project Oblivion failed. The Emperor's greatest weapon, built with billions of credits and centuries of research, did nothing. A soft shiver of fear spread across the throne room. Humans descend. From the Terran flagship, a second message came. Come. Steady. Cold. We warned you. You harmed our people. Now we will end this. The white glow around the human ships brightened. Then they descended. Terran dropships cut through the atmosphere like quiet meteors, landing across the capital in perfect formation. Streets shook. Buildings trembled. Vorex soldiers gathered in lines, shouting, shaking, unsure whether to charge or run. The Terran soldiers stepped out, armor glowing softly. Their helmets reflected the red sky of Vorex Prime. Their formation was so precise that the ground beneath them almost vibrated. No one spoke. No one shouted. No one wasted a movement. They advanced like a single unstoppable force. Vorex soldiers opened fire. A storm of plasma bolts hit the Terran troops and faded into the white glow. Not one human slowed. When the Terran soldiers returned fire, it was over in seconds. Vorex defenses melted. Armored units vanished. Towers fell with silent precision. The streets were filled with white light, moving like a tide. The Emperor's last stand. Inside the throne room, Emperor Kaler watched the white glow rise through the city like approaching judgment. "Prepare my guard," he said. "I will face them." But his generals shook their heads. "Your Majesty, the palace guard is gone." Kaler froze. Gone? His elite warriors? The strongest in his empire? Footsteps echoed through the hall. Terran boots. Soft. Even. Steady. The doors opened without force, without explosions, without chaos. A single human stepped inside, the Terran commander. Her armor glowed white, her eyes calm, her voice almost gentle. "Emperor Kaler," she said, "your war ends now." Kaler grabbed his weapon, hands trembling with anger and fear. "Why?" he shouted. "Why do you fight like this? We took only just a few humans. Why bring war to an entire empire?" The commander looked at him with a sadness deeper than hate. "You took our people," she said softly. "For humans, that is something we cannot allow. Ever." Kaler raised his weapon. The commander raised her hand. White light filled the chamber. The Emperor's weapon turned to dust. The throne cracked. Kaler fell to his knees. "It didn't need to be like this," the commander said. Then everything went quiet. The Vorex Dominion had fallen. Terran soldiers moved calmly through the city, searching for captured humans. They found them deep inside the old fortress, weak, hurt, hungry, but alive. Some cried when they saw the white armor. Some collapsed with relief. Some simply whispered, "Are we going home?" The Terran commander nodded. "You are safe now." The rescued humans were taken to medical ships. No cheers. No loud celebrations. Only quiet, steady work. Across the capital, Vorex citizens watched from their windows, expecting revenge, expecting punishment, expecting the humans to destroy what remained of their world. But nothing happened. The Terran soldiers never fired on civilians. They never took territory. They never shouted or threatened. They were here for one purpose only: bring their people home. Once the last human captive was found, the Terran commander sent a message across the entire planet. A message that shocked everyone. "We are leaving. Your empire has fallen. But your people will survive." The Vorex had expected death. Instead, they received mercy. Before leaving, the Terran commander made one last walk through the throne chamber, now quiet and empty. The destroyed throne lay on its side. The tall windows were broken. Dust floated through the light like slow snow. She stood in the center of the hall, the place where so much fear and anger had lived for centuries. Behind her, a Terran officer waited. "Commander," he said, "the fleet is ready. We can depart any moment." She nodded. "Send one final signal to the Galactic Council," she said. "Tell them the truth." "What should we say?" She looked around the room one last time. "Tell them the Vorex Dominion is gone, because they chose to harm humans." Her voice held no pride, no joy, only certainty. It was their choice. And this was the price. When the Terran fleet finally lifted into the sky, white engines glowing, the Vorex people stepped out from the shadows of their ruined homes. No human soldier fired at them. No ship bombarded their cities. No warning shots were given. The fleet simply rose higher and higher until the ships became small stars in the dark sky. Only then did the Vorex begin to speak again. They whispered a new name, the same name that would soon spread across every surviving world in their shattered empire. The White Legion. That was how they described the humans who came for their people. Not monsters. Not invaders. Not conquerors. But a force that moved like cold light, unstoppable and silent. A force that took nothing except their own. A force that vanished as soon as its mission was complete. 4 centuries afterward, Vorex storytellers would warn children. If you ever touch a human, if you ever take a human, the White Legion will come, and you will disappear from the map. Several months later, The Galactic Council gathered to discuss the sudden disappearance of an entire empire. Ambassadors from dozens of species argued in disbelief. How did the Vorex fall so fast? How did an empire with thousands of star systems collapse in a week? Why did the humans do this? The Terran representative stood and answered with simple words. They touched our people. The room went silent. Everyone understood. From that day, the galactic map changed. Where the Vorex Dominion once covered a huge area, there was now only a blank space. A quiet space. An empty space. A space no one dared enter. Some explorers later tried to chart it. None returned. Soon, star charts began marking the region with a single warning. Terran no-go zone. Enter at your own risk. No one risked it. Not after seeing how fast the White Legion erased a mighty empire. Back on Earth, the rescued humans stepped out of the transport ships. Families ran toward them, tears falling, arms shaking. Children hugged their parents. Parents hugged their children. No words were enough. In the center of the crowd stood the Terran commander. She watched quietly as her people reunited, her helmet under her arm, her expression calm. Another officer approached her. "It's over," he said. "We won." She shook her head softly. No. There was no victory. Only consequence. He didn't argue. Everyone knew she was right. Humanity returned to peace. Their fleets stood down. Life continued. But something had changed in the galaxy. From that day forward, every empire, every kingdom, every pirate group, every trading guild remembered the same rule. You may fight humans. You may compete with humans. You may challenge humans. But you never touch a human civilian. Ever. For the galaxy had witnessed what happened to the Vorex Dominion. A warning for all time.